Stephan, where are you going? What are you looking for? Are there wild boars? Ticks? Stinging nettles? Stephan and I are traveling through Poland. We are in Silesia, in the southwest corner of Poland on the border to Germany and the Czech Republic. Silesia was one of the largest gold regions of Europe during the Middle Ages. The gold was mainly mined in the triangle between Złotoryia, and Jelenia Góra. We are looking for the traces of medieval gold prospectors in the countryside, the placer gold mining heritage of Silesia. Stephan is an expert on this topic. Placer mining is exploiting gold by washing the gravel deposits where gold accumulated by mechanical processes, mostly the flow of water. In the geological age of the Tertiary, 2 to 5 million years ago, large rivers brought masses of gold-bearing gravels from the Karkonosze Mountains to Lower Silesia. Here it lies in a secondary deposit. These are gravel layers of 1 to 2 meters thickness. It is often reddish gravel with lots of white quartz boulders. Therefore, the placer gold had to be exploited by mining technologies here in Lower Silesia. This is not very common in Europe. How does Stephan identify medieval gold placer sites? There are some historical records, but very few compared to the large amount of evidence in the countryside. Location names such as the village name of Schmottseiffen reveal that gold was once searched in that area. Seife means placer in German. However, Stephan's method of choice is airborne laser scanning, or LiDAR. In many countries, including Poland, digital terrace models, DTM for short, have been publicly available for several years. Old placer gold sites can be recognized by the expert based on optical patterns. This is a revolution in placer gold site discovery and brings a whole new perspective to medieval gold mining. Stephan has identified 70 placer gold sites in Lower Silesia thanks to the DTM. We visited about 30 of them in 1 week. The most easily places to exploit placer gold are recent alluvial river and creek deposits. The medieval gold panners dug ditches and let the water from the neighboring creek flow through them. The material was loosened with a pick. Coarse stones were piled onto a heap, the so-called right stockpile. The gold concentrated in the ditch and was collected with the help of washing throughs. This method is a kind of ground sluicing. When the ground was harvested, a new ditch with a new stockpile was started a few meters away. The heaps along the creek are clearly visible on the digital terrace model.
Das würde dann darauf hindeuten, dass dazwischen gewaschen wurde. Mhm.
Für mich das entscheidende Kriterium war Höhe von der Halde. Und zwar normalerweise beim Waschen würdest du ja nie eine höhere Halde machen, als du mit der Schaufel werfen kannst.
Ja.
3 Meter.
Ja.
Und wenn die Halden höher sind als 3 Meter, hat das irgendwas mit Abbau zu tun.
Only about 1/5 of the placer gold sites we visited were such easily accessible recent creek alluvions. The majority of Silesian gold deposits are tertiary gravel terraces.
Eine Waschmaschine liegt da. Dann ist also dieses Feld hier ist die Waschmaschine. Oder die durchgewaschene Wäsche. Und da drüben liegt noch die Halde. Aber mit gewaltigen Steinen.
So, how did the medieval gold miners proceed when the gold placers lay high above of the creek? These tertiary high terraces or paleo channels were mined by open pits. The barren overburden was shoveled onto a stockpile and the gold-bearing gravel was hauled down to the valley bottom. The large open-cast mines have distinctive patterns on the digital Terra model. They are visible as an artificial basin and forks of ditches. Usually one or more deep ditches lead downhill. These are mined ditches and at the same time paths in which the material was transported down to the valley bottom. It is a mystery to us how the medieval miners coped with this kind of transport. As we shall see, this is not the only mystery left to us by the medieval gold miners.
Da hinten links liegt das Finkenfeld.
The Pliocene River made a right turn 2 to 5 million years ago at Lwówek. Instead of flowing straight north as it does today, the Bober River then flowed east to Złotoryia. At Nowa Ziemia, it joined the Pliocene Katsava River. So there is a powerful paleo channel hidden in the ground. At Lwówek, near Płakowice, unfortunately the gold-bearing sediments are covered with a 10-meter thick layer of barren gravel. Open-pit mining doesn't work here. The medieval gold prospectors had to use mining methods. They practiced a method then called Duckel-Mining. It is a simple mining method. They dug vertical shafts into the ground like the prospectors did it 600 years later on the Klondike or in Western Australia. The shafts had to be carefully armed with wood to underpin the loose material. Once the gold-bearing layer was reached, a tire-formed excavation of about 1 to 2 meters was carried out around the center of the shaft. Funnel-shaped depressions is what is left of it today, called pinks. The pinks are usually 4 to 6 meters in diameter, sometimes up to 10 meters, and 2 to 3 meters deep. They are precisely recognizable on the DTM by a distinctive pattern. The gold-bearing gravel had to be laboriously lifted out of the shaft and washed out in the nearby creek. Traces of the reservoirs that were used to collect the water needed for the washing process are still visible today. Lwówek Płakowice is the most gigantic placer gold site in Silesia. It is estimated that around 150 to 200,000 shafts were dug in an area of 10 to 15 square kilometers. The pinks are relatively close together. This suggests the ground was not very stable. Large tire-shaped cavities were probably too dangerous. Instead, it was preferred to dig a new shaft. A very special placer gold site is located on a high terrace near the village of Górna, during the German times called Schmottseiffen. This is another mystery. This site is a mix of open-pit mining and Duckel-Mining. Large ditches and open-cast mines stretch along the slopes. At the top of the plateau, adjoining the open-cast mines, are clearly several fields with pinks visible on the DTM, the traces of Duckel-Mining. Why was open-cast mining and Duckel-Mining combined? Are the gold-bearing gravels at the top of the plateau lying deeper so that they were no longer accessible by open-pit mining? Were the two methods used simultaneously or in different eras? Was there open pit mining in the Middle Ages and, for example, 100 to 200 years later, Duckel-Mining in the early modern times? Or vice versa, first Duckel-Mining, years later to extract the remaining sediments with open cast mining? An unsolved mystery to us. We observed this pattern of the open pit and Duckel-Mining mix in about a third of the visited placer gold sites, in 8 sites out of 27.
Und auf dieser Seite ist ein ganzer Fächer und der geht auch über in einen sehr großen Graben. Das war ein riesiger Tagbau. Das ist ja jetzt fast ansteigend hier. Ob das auch ein Zeichen ist, eben, dass es ein Transportweg war und eben kein Waschkanal.
Ja, du hast hier das anstehende Gestein unten. Sandstein hier häufig, aber auch Metamorphitte teilweise. Darüber sind jetzt die goldhaltigen jüngeren Sedimente mit produktiven Schichten. In einer ersten Arbeitsphase wurden die Pingfelder angelegt, also die im Duckelbergbau, kurze Schächte, einige Meter tief, die Abbaue. Und meiner Meinung nach ist dann in einer zweiten Arbeitsphase von hier wie in einem Tagebau oder Steinbruch das ganze Sediment abgebaut worden, um die Reste zu gewinnen. In jedem Fall musste natürlich dann das goldführende Sediment zum Bach geschafft werden, wenn von oben kein Wasserzulauf möglich war. Das Sediment wurde zumeist abgesiebt und dann hier im Vorfeld in Halden abgelagert.
Das sind die Halden, die man heute noch
die
sieht.
Wir jetzt noch
genau.
sehen.
Und möglicherweise sind die Abbaue in 2 Phasen oder sogar 2 Epochen entstanden.
Ich denke in 2 Epochen. Erste Epoche ist der Duckelbergbau.
Zum Beispiel Mittelalter, 1200 oder so.
Mittelalter oder älter.
Oder älter sogar.
Vielleicht. Es gibt Thesen, dass hier auch schon keltischer Bergbau war. Aber das ist wirklich nur These.
Ja.
Ich würde auch von Mittelalter ausgehen und hier Frühneuzeit, also 16. Jahrhundert, dann die zweite Phase.
While doing internet research about Pławna Górna, the former Schmottseiffen, I came across another mystery. The mystery about the corrupted things in mankind. Pastor Alfred Rothe wrote down the history of Schmottseiffen as a displaced person in the 1960s. Please allow me this side note. It has deeply impressed me. I perceive Poland's history as a dramatic one. Poland is an open country with few natural borders. It was often fought over and in the anvil of East and West. The result was suffering and grief to the people. Occupation by Nazi Germany, westward displacement with the expulsion of millions, inhumane communism. Duke Henry I of Silesia, known as Henry the Bearded, lived from 1201 to 38. He wanted to develop the sparsely populated Silesia. He lured farmers and miners to come with free property and free gold mining. Many Germans came. Only a small part of the gold found had to be delivered to the Duke. This is the reason how villages like Pławna Górna were founded. They have the typical settlement form of Franconian villages, a chain of standardized plots of land stretching for kilometers along the road and the creek. After Henry, the rulers of Silesia often changed. Sometimes Bohemia, the Habsburgs, Prussia, but the German culture remained over 800 years. In 1945 happened in Schmottseiffen what happened to all the villages of Silesia. The Russian Red Army advanced westwards after the surrender of Nazi Germany. In June 1945, the Polish militia broke into the houses and yelled, "Everyone out within 15 minutes! Go, go!" The people were taken by force out of the village so that they could plunder undisturbedly. Some of the residents returned once more, until after two major waves in July 1946 and June 1947, all German-speaking villagers were forcibly driven out, expelled after more than 700 years. People from eastern Poland were accommodated in the houses under the heading of repatriation. Because their country, today's Ukrainian western areas around Lwów, was previously annexed by the Soviet Union. The German Silesians had to carry all the revenge for Hitler's aggressive behavior, and the newly settled Poles in turn lived out of the suitcase for many years because they never knew whether the Germans might return. This expulsion and resettlement of several millions people went into history as the westward shift of Poland. It is unique in terms of its dimensions and cruelty. War produces losers, and that for both sides. Back to the gold history. We definitely should go to see Złotoryja, the former Goldberg in German. Złotoryja is the oldest Polish municipal law, and Lwówek is the city with the oldest Polish beer. Złotoryja got its city rights in 1211, Lwówek a few years later in 1217. That is very early. The rich gold deposits were probably the reason. It is estimated that up to 3,000 gold miners worked in the Złotoryja-Lwówek area in the Middle Ages. We know this because Genghis Khan's son attacked Europe during the Mongol invasion of 1241. 1/5 of the miners had to go to the battle against the Mongols. 500 from Złotoryja, 150 from Lwówek and 150 from Bolesławiec. Fought and lost. But the Mongols returned home anyway, because the ruling family had to be reorganized due to a death. They just took a few miners with them for the purpose of building up their mining knowledge. 100 years later, the goldfields of Lwówek and Złotoryja were exhausted. Sometimes even history has a wink. The next big gold field was found in 1340 at the site of the battle against the Mongols, Mykolajowice. It lasted for another 40 years of gold production. South of Złotoryja is another huge placer gold site. This is again a mix of open pit mining and Duckel-Mining. A veritable labyrinth of ditches and pits can be seen on the DTM stretching along the left and right of the road. Without the DTM, we would not have recognized the following mystery. A clear rectangle of around 30 by 20 meters is visible on the DTM. You have to look carefully out in the terrace to see the slight crests. What was that? Hardly a water reservoir here on the hilltop. Stephan bets on a motte, a formerly wooden castle to protect and defend the goldfields. But mottes are often round-shaped. I am guessing that it was a goat pen or something similar, so that the gold diggers could be supplied by food right on the spot. Or is it of modern origin? What are you guessing? Only an archaeological excavation could provide more information.
Das könnte eine Halde von abgeschobenem Deckmaterial sein, da es lehmig ist und wenig Steine hat. Hier sind wir an einem Punkt, wo die Schurfgräben sich zweiteilen. Und das in Flussrichtung. So etwas haben wir bis jetzt noch nie gesehen. Könnte sein, dass sich das halt einfach so ergeben hat, weil man mal auf der einen Seite begonnen hat und irgendwann dann weitergearbeitet hat und noch einen zweiten Graben angelegt hat. Ist dies hier der ältere, weil er höher liegt?
Das kann sogar zeitgleich sein.
Denkst du? Ja.
Ja.
Und mit dieser Stufe hier, aber da konnte man ja nicht mit einem Wagen fahren oder transportieren.
Musste man auch nicht. Von hier vorfahren, abkippen.
Aha.
Das wurde im Bergbau im Stollenvortrieb auch gemacht.
Ja.
Bei einem engen Stollen kann ja vorne nur einer arbeiten.
Mhm.
Und deshalb, damit zwei Heuer gleichzeitig arbeiten können, hat man in 2 Phasen. Einer hat die obersten 1,5 Meter im Sitzen ausgeschlagen oder im Knien.
Ja.
Und 5 Meter zurück war der zweite Heuer und hat den untersten Meter ausgehauen.
Mhm.
Und so konnten 2 gleichzeitig arbeiten.
Mhm.
Und das könnte ich mir hier auch vorstellen. Man hat also hier eine obere Brigade gehabt und eine untere Brigade.
Ja.
The small visitors mine in Złotoryja gives us the little next mystery. We get a great tour and mining expert Stephan challenges the guide just a little bit. This mine is a hard rock mine that is contrary to all the placer gold sites of the area. Little is known about the gallery with the funny name Aurelia. It was driven into the rock at around 1660, almost 400 years after the great medieval gold boom. It lies below the church and cemetery of Saint Nicholas. Therefore, the saying applies, the dead of Złotoryja lie in the gold. However, that's not entirely correct, because it was probably not a gold mine. The old-timers were probably looking for copper ores. Or was it just a prospecting gallery?
Der Wechsel auf das Kastenprofil, das war so ungefähr. Ja, das ist eine sehr lange Zeit, also zwischen, ich sag mal, 1400 bis 1720. Wäre es in Freiberg bei uns, ja.
Oh, and by the way, the Polish Goldpanning Championship take place in Złotoryja every last weekend in May. At the same time, it is a city festival that should not be missed by any gold panner. Stephan and I are out in the woods again looking for historic placer gold sites. I said to Stephan after 2 days, I am having enough now. I've seen enough placer gold sites. Stephan warned me gently. You have to look at a lot of findings to become an expert. So I'm looking down to the ground for another 4 days and observe the reminders of the past. It really needs a keenly tuned eye to see the traces of old gold exploitation in these hills and valleys. What else might lie buried in the ground here? In any case, everything has gone here. Nature's has cleaned up. Decayed, overgrown, gone, harsh transients.
Ja, das geht schon ziemlich rauf und runter. Das ist ein richtig schöner Befund.
Decay is the result because man has turned away from God. That says that 2,000-year-old book that is about Jesus. I am looking up to the sky. What keen eye is required to recognize the traces of heaven? Do you have to be an expert to see the traces of life in it? No, but seeing with heart and mind might be required. It is God's design that each of us should be restored to life through entering into a relationship with Jesus Christ, the Son of Man who, out of love, vicariously paid for all the corrupted things in us, the things that me and you can never pay for by ourselves.
Das wären die obersten Gräben da jetzt. Und die pinken müssten da hinten jetzt folgen, so als Kranz oben durch quasi.
Ich hätte sonst aus Spaß einfach hier mal eine Probe mitgenommen.
Ja. Das ist spannend. Was sind das, Dachse oder? Ja. Schon beim anderen Befund, wo oben die Pinken durchgingen, waren die Dachse kurz vor den Pinken. Ob die noch, weißt du, ob es unten noch Hohlräume hat.
Genau,
und da müssen sie nicht so viel Höhle graben.
Ja, aber
About 30 tons of gold may have been mined in the Middle Ages out of the triangle of Lwówek, Złotoryia and Jelenia Góra. Estimates go to 50 to 100 tons for all of Silesia, depending on the expert. According to current estimates, there could be another 350 tons of gold in this area. In Lwówek Płakowice, the tertiary gravel layer had a gold content of around 2 grams per ton. In Złotoryia near Kopacz, sometimes more, up to 22 grams per ton. The medieval prospectors probably got little more than 60% of the gold out of the gravel with their simple methods. The gold placers that have been worked through still have a gold content of 0.3 to 0.5 grams per ton today. Jan Wierchowiec, who studied intensively the gold placers of Lower Silesia, speaks of technogenous placers, gold-bearing sediments that have been processed to a certain extent by humans, a mix of waste tailings and a few corners of virgin deposits. Silesian gold is very small. It occurs in the form of flakes. The size is on average about 1/3 millimeter. It is called medium fine gold. It is a mystery to us how the medieval gold miners were able to extract the fine gold. Only with penning, for example a wooden pan, or with the aid of mercury. We carried out a gold panning test on every gold placer site we visited whenever possible. In one case we were able to detect a little bit of mercury. Another mystery is at what threshold medieval gold panning became profitable. Based on the amount of evidence, it was pretty sure that it was profitable. Quirin assumed that a single gold miner only had to collect 0.1 to 0.2 gram of gold per day. This because labor was so extremely cheap during the Middle Ages and the gold was of high value. By the way, the largest nugget found near Złotoryia in 2001 is said to weigh 4.47 gram. A 1 centimeter flake is on exhibition in the Złotoryia Gold Museum. And the results of our gold tests? So much shall be revealed. They turned out very differently.
Goldwaschen an den unmöglichsten Orten. Im Kuhweiher zum Beispiel. Tatsächlich Steine drin. Also das Testloch ist schon ein bisschen größer geworden als auch schon. Deutet darauf hin, dass wir ein bisschen mehr Gold als üblich gefunden haben. Das Gold ist hier im Röhrchen. Das zeigen wir mal nicht, da wir nicht polnische Goldräusche auslösen möchten.
For a short moment, I am going to be a tourist at the end of my 10-day trip to Poland. I climbed the Ostrzyca and visit Wrocław. Thanks to Stephan for the broadening of my horizon and the great in-depth discussions. The team of the Polish Guild of Goldpanners for the Polish Championship and Roel and Elena from Camping Jaskolka in Marców for the ideal location for our adventure.